Good morning, everyone. Welcome to official YouTube channel of Officer Study 24/7. How are you all? So, as you all know, we have started Back to Basic series for your IFS, and this is our fifth class in which we are going to discuss the third unit of yours, that is Economic Planning and NITI Aayog. So, let's start the session. But before starting the session, I would like to request you let me know the audio video both are okay. Are we good to go? So let me know once in the comment section is audio and video both are okay or not, so that we will start our session. So in this particular session, we are going to discuss the unit number 3, part 1 of your unit number 3, that is Economic Planning in India and the NITI Aayog. So those who are joining us first time in this particular session, I would like to tell them that in this particular session, we have started back to basics of your concepts of IFS, in which we are going to discuss the certain concept of IFS subject that will be definitely helping you to clear your May 2024 paper. And what we are doing in these sessions, we are first discussing a certain concept about your subject, and then in the end of the session we are discussing right now the certain number of questions, so that when you are learning the concept, you will also know how to apply that particular concept in the paper. Okay, so let's start the session. And in today's session, we are going to cover your unit number 3, that is Economic Planning in India and NITI Aayog. And this is the first part of your unit number 3. And if we talk about the number of class, this is the 5th number of class. Okay, so let's start. And if you haven't seen the already taken classes, like the last 4 classes, if you haven't watched that particular 4 classes, then you can go to the playlist. You will find the playlist for the same, and you can watch from 1st to 4th classes recorded. Okay, so let's start. When we talk about the economic planning in India, these two bodies name will always be seen. So you can see 2 images are there. First image is talking about the Planning Commission, and second image is talking about the NITI Aayog. So whenever you talk about the economic planning in the country, you will find these two commissions will always be in the news. So economic planning used to be done by the Planning Commission in our country till 2015, but from 2017 onwards, this is done by NITI Aayog. So what happened between 2015 to 17? From 15 to 17, NITI Aayog was completing the last 5-year plan of Planning Commission. That was the 12th 5-year plan. Okay, so let's start the session. And you can see here, this is the module A, unit number 3, Economic Planning in India and the NITI Aayog. This is the first part of this particular unit. Okay, now first of all, what is economic planning? If we talk about economic planning, so first when we talk about back to basics, so the first question here is what actually the planning. Okay, so what is planning? Planning is simply taking a active approach to achieve any particular goal, any particular aim, or any particular objective of yours. Planning can be done for anything. Hana, planning can be done for anything. Like you guys have planned for your JAIIB May 2024 paper. That's also a planning. That's also a planning. So when you are doing a planning can be anything which can be done to achieve a future goal or future aim by having a proactive approach. That's the planning. Now, what actually the economic planning is? Economic planning is same thing. You are deciding in advance what to do in a certain coming days or certain coming months, so that you will achieve your objective, you will achieve your goal. But when it comes to the economic planning, it is actually taking the major economic decisions. That's the economic planning. Now, what are the major economic decisions we are going to discuss now? So you can see here, it can be simply defined as a process of utilizing the resources effectively. You are taking a process of reutilizing resources effectively by allocating the resources judicially. So what is the better way to use your resources so that your needs and wants of the population will be fulfilled? That is what your economic planning is, and it is mostly done by the government of the country. Like in our country, government of India is doing that, but for that government have made a certain bodies. Like if we are saying that government of India will do the planning, like who will be responsible for that? The president, the prime minister, the finance minister, the railway minister, who will be the authority which have been designated or determined to do the economic planning? So that's why we have created a certain planning body. So it was Planning Commission from 1950 till 2015, and from 2015 this particular planning body is NITI Aayog till right now. Okay, so now if I talk about economic planning, I have told you economic planning is nothing, simply just taking major economic decisions. Taking major economic decisions is your economic planning. And why you are taking this economic decision? So that you will achieve your goal, you will achieve your aim for the economy. And what are these major economic decisions? This is what to, how to, and for whom to produce. So these are the three economic decisions, these are the three economic problems, and these are the three major questions of any economy, like what to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce. These three questions are the major questions or major economic problems of any country. And when you are taking decisions about what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce, that is known as your economic planning. So economic planning is nothing, just taking a major economic decisions to achieve your future goal. That is your economic planning, and it will be done by the government of the country. Right now in India, it is done by the NITI Aayog, National Institution for Transforming India. Okay, now let's go further. And you can see here, if we talk about the origin of economic planning, so I think we all know all the concepts or any planning body or anything what we are doing right now, we have adopted from somewhere, right? So USSR used to have the 5-year plan. That was the national planning type of planning, was national planning that was started by USSR in 1928. They used the national planning to achieve their own goals, and that we have adopted from this particular country. So USSR, that you know as right now as a Russia, the country from where we have adopted the national planning concept, that is the 5-year plans. So India started planning actually in the year 1938, 1936. That was the Visvesvaraya plan. So the planning origin in India of planning started in 1936. That was the Visvesvaraya plan, the first plan of our economic planning. But if we talk about, they were not successful till 1950. A lot of plan was introduced, they were not successful. So in 1950 we have used the successful plan of Russia to do economic planning in India, and that was the 5-year plans. That was what? That was the 5-year plans that we adopted. Okay, so the origin of economic planning have been seen from Russia, from USSR in 1928. Okay, now next, definition of economic planning. So I have explained you what is economic planning. Simply just taking the major economic decisions are known as the economic planning. But in your book, a particular author, or I can say a particular economist, have defined what actually the economic planning is. So you have to remember the name of the economist as well, that who have given the definition of economic planning here. So a lot of economists have been given the definition of economic planning, but you have to remember the name of the economist who have given or who have mentioned in your syllabus. So that is Mr. H.D. Dickinson. Okay, so first of all, if we talk about the planning as broader term is categorized in a variety of ways. So I have told you, planning can be done for anything. Planning can be done for anything. So now, what is economic planning? It means the making of major economic decisions, what, how much is to be produced, and for whom it to be allocated, and to whom it to be allocated, by taking the decision of a determinate authority on the basis of comprehensive survey of economic system as a whole. So the same thing, this definition is saying, which we have discussed in a very easy way, in a very simple way, that what is when we talk about the economic planning, what is economic planning? Economic planning is simply a planning in which we are talking about you are taking a major economic decisions, you are taking a major decisions of economic That is what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. And these decisions will be taken by the determinant authority. As I've told you, who will do the economic planning in country? Prime Minister, President, or who will? So you have to determine that this authority is responsible, or this person is authorized to do the economic planning in the country. And that right now is NITI Aayog. So this is the definition of economic planning given by the Mr. H.D. Dickinson. Okay, so you have to remember the name of the economist. This is important. Now, the objectives of economic planning in India. Why you are doing planning? Hana, like you want to clear your paper for May 2024 JAIIB. That's the reason you are doing planning. Okay. Now, what actually your objective is? Your objective is to clear your paper in the first attempt, or clear your JIB in the first attempt, or clear your particular paper in the next attempt of your JIB exam. That's why you are doing the planning. Now, what are the objectives of economic planning? Economic planning have a lot of objectives. First, you can see economic growth, poverty alleviation, employment generation, social justice and reducing the inequality, self-reliant economy, and modernization of the economy. These are the objectives of your economic planning. Now, how we are achieving them? Let's understand that. So if we talk about economic growth, poverty, how economic planning is helping this out. So when you know what are the needs of the customer, what are the needs and wants of the population, how many resources you have, what was the purchasing behavior of the customer, how much money supply they have, accordingly you will be able to produce goods and services in the country. Accordingly, you will be able to distribute the goods and services in the country. And accordingly, you will be able to increase your GDP and economic growth. So it's very obvious. If you know how much money supply is there, according to the money supply, they will start demanding the goods and services. When the money supply is high, they will start demanding more goods and services. And then what you have to do, you have to start the production, because do remember, always in between the demand and supply, there always will be inverse relation, indirect relation. Whenever demand increases, the supply will decrease. Whenever the demand is decreasing, supply will increase. This is the relation between your demand and supply, right? If I'm talking about money supply is increasing, demand will increase, production will increase. And this is how, if we talk about, this is how you will find that when the production is increasing, your GDP, gross domestic product, will increase. Because what is GDP? The money value of all final goods and services that is produced within the geographical boundary of a country. And when the GDP increases, automatically your economic growth will increase. That's how you have an objective to maintain or to increase the economic growth in the country. So when you know how much money supply population have, when you studied your population, when you study your customer, so you will know what they want, how they want, and when they want. And if you know that, accordingly you will prepare your economy by production or by providing certain resources or whatever it is required to do. Okay. Now, when you are producing more goods and services, that means obviously you will be employing more laborers, because to produce more and more goods and services, you need more production. You need more laborers to produce that. So employment will increase. When the employment increasing, the per capita income of population will increase. When the per capita income increases, the national income will also increase. So this is how the second objective will also be fulfilled, because when you are giving more job opportunities to the population, they will be less poor. So poverty alleviation will be seen there. Okay, apart from that, as you can see, employment generation is increasing. So what are the objectives of doing economic planning? To increase the employment generation, to decrease the poverty, to increase the economic growth. These are the objectives for which we are doing the economic planning in the country. And this is how you will be able to achieve your objectives of economic planning. Now, social justice means providing equal opportunities to everyone. And you will be able to do that, and you will be able to reduce the inequalities in the country. If I talk about Indian economy, as per IMF, Indian economy is the fastest growing economy in the world. If any country who is growing at a maximum speed, that is India. So India is what? Fastest growing economy in the world, not in the Asia or some in the world. But when it comes to the inequality, India tops there also. So India is the most unequal country as well. Most unequal country means there is a gap between the uh, distribution of wealth. There is a gap between the salaries. There is a gender inequality. There is an income inequality in the country. So a lot of inequalities are there in the country. So when we talk about the social justice, it means providing equal opportunities to everyone. That will reduce your inequalities in the country. Now, how this will be fulfilled by the economic planning? Now, when you know in the rural area we have a certain number of people, they do not have jobs, they do not have opportunities, they do not have money. So now you know what actually the rural population wants and what actually the urban population wants, because you have planned that, you have done the survey, you have run the survey, and after running the survey you have find out the actual situation of rural area as well as your urban area. Now, what happens after seeing all these things? You will find out what is the requirement of which area. Accordingly, you will allocate your resources. You will start your, you will implement your economic planning accordingly. So that's how your inequalities will be reduced. So you know, in the rural area there is no certain jobs available. So in urban areas, the MNCs, the global companies, they want to come. है ना? Like no multinational company will want to start their company in India in the rural area, because they know they will not be able to find out the resources in the rural area, how they will be able to increase their profit from India. So every country, in every investment, you will find urban areas or metro cities, they are get benefited with the help of investments. If you are getting a foreign investment, that money will be utilized maximum in the urban areas. But what about rural area? So when the government have find out that rural area need this things, then the government will introduce social welfare scheme to remove those hurdles for the rural areas people. So if you remember, the National Rural Livelihood Mission was also introduced by government to make the livelihood of the rural poor better. Apart from that, Manrega, under the Manrega, government is providing 100 days guaranteed employment to the rural poor household. Okay, so by introducing the social welfare scheme, government is trying to provide equal opportunities to everyone and reducing the inequality. So this will be done when you have planned about it. Now, self-reliant economy, we want to make India a self-reliant economy, or I can say Atmanirbhar, we want to make India is. So how it can be done when you know what you are capable of. Let's say, for example, a lot of, or I can say almost everything we used to import for the defense projects. But at the time of lockdown, when the Atmanirbhar package was introduced, Mr. Rajnath Singh has started that now we will make the defense self-reliant. And now you can see a lot of defense requirements we are producing in our own country. We are not importing that, we are producing in our own country. In fact, India started exporting the certain defense weaponries. So this is how India became the self-reliant, and this will be possible when you know your capabilities, what you are capable of, and this will be done only by doing the planning, because it's very obvious that in defense you can't take risk. You can't take such risk like we will stop importing defense products from the Russia, and we will hit and try for the 1 year, like we will be able to produce those goods and services. And what if in that particular year duration certain country came for a war? That's why you can't take a risk. For that you have to do the pre-planning, and that's how economic planning helps you. And modernization of economy, it's very obvious what type of infrastructure economy needs to become modern. You have to plan for that. Okay, when you talk about roads, buildings, bridges, etc., all these are the physical infrastructure that are helping you to link the country physically, and they provide the modernization to the Indian economy as well. So this is what it will be done when you plan that where and when and at what level infrastructure is required in the country. Okay, so this is how the economic planning helps us to fulfill our economic objectives, and all these are the objectives of your economic planning. Okay, now next. If I talk about types of planning, we have two types of planning only. How many types of planning we have? We have two types of planning, and that is regional plan and your national plan. We have two types of planning. One is regional plan and second is your national plan. So what is regional plan? First of all, regional planning was introduced by United States, in which as per the geographical areas you were doing planning. So as with the name you can understand regional planning. So you are doing planning in a certain region. That's the regional planning. So the first country to begin regional planning in 1960, and it was a huge success in achieving its well-defined goal. That was the United Nations States. And the planning is implemented at the regional level, and it is targeted to wide geographical area like region consisting of rural and urban communities, and guaranteeing optimal space utilization and human activity distribution. So when we talk about the regional planning, what is regional planning? Which you are doing with the help of or in a certain geographical areas. That is the regional planning. Okay, now the second type of planning, we have a national planning. And this national planning was started by the Soviet Union as a 5-year plan, 1928 to 1933. It means USSR, Russia started the national planning. And we also adopted the national planning from Russia. So it was certain from the start that India needs a national planning. We did not need it at that time, the regional planning, but the national planning. So the government sought national strategy in order to take an active role in resource allocation and mobilization for your equitable growth and development as a result of the abject poverty. It means at that time when we got independence, we have seen that we need a kind of national plan that will help out the whole country to uh, come at the certain stable point. Like when the Britishers left the country, India was totally drained, not in only context of wealth, but in context of human resources, but in context of raw material as well. So that's why we needed a certain plan that will give us the stability at least, and after that we will start growing our economy. So that time India introduced the national planning that have been adopted from the USSR, or you can call it a Russia. Okay. Now, if I talk about the history of economic planning in India, so history started in 1923, so 36, sorry. So the first plan in Indian economy for the economic planning was introduced by the Mr. Visvesvaraya, that was the Visvesvaraya plan. Then in 1938, we have seen National Planning Committee. Then in 1944, we have find out Bombay Plan and Gandhian Plan both. In 1945, we have find out the People's Plan. In 1947, we have find out the Economic Planning Committee. In 1950, we have find out the Sarvodaya Plan. But in the same year, 1950, we have find out the Planning Commission. And in 2015, we have find out the NITI Aayog. This is how the history of economic planning is seen in the country. Now, you have to read only these two. Why? Because this is in your syllabus only. So the actual history started in 1936 with the help of Visvesvaraya plan, and all these plans came in the country for the economic planning, but they were not successful. So the first successful planning body was Planning Commission, and then it was NITI Aayog. So these are the two which is in your syllabus that you have to cover, the Planning Commission and NITI Aayog. So this is the history of your economic planning. Okay. Now, next, what is Planning Commission? If I talk about the Planning Commission, so as I've told you, it was introduced in March 2015. Sorry, 1950. Okay, it was introduced in March 1950. So, if we talk about the Planning Commission is a non-statutory body. Planning Commission is a non-statutory body. Planning Commission is a non-constitutional body. Okay, and advisory body. So it was non-statutory body, means it was not introduced by a certain act. It was not introduced by a certain act, that's why it was a non-statutory body. It's a non-constitutional body, it means it was not defined under the constitution of our country, that's why it's a non-constitutional body. And it was the advisory body, it means it used to give advice to the government of India, like what should be done in the country for the development, and it used to give the advice. Now if I talk about Planning Commission introduced the 5-year plans in the country. And the first 5-year plan was introduced in the year 1951, that go till 1956, and the last 5-year plan, or I can say the 12th plan, was started in 2012 and ended in 2017. Now, if you talk about if there are only 12 plans was introduced, so it should take only 60 years duration to be completed, the 5-year plans, but it take more than 60 years because there have been seen a certain gaps between the 5-year plan. The first gap was seen in 1966 to 1969. That was a 3 years gap. It is known as plan holiday. It is known as what? Plan holiday. The second gap, the plan holiday, was seen because the India-China war or Indo-China war or Indo-Pak war happened, and then the drought was seen, and in the country drought was there, inflation was there. That's why no 5-year plan was created from 66 to 69, and only annual plan was introduced. Now, the second gap started in 1978 and ended in 80. That was known as the rolling plan. That was known as rolling plan. Now, what is rolling plan? In which Mr. Morarji Desai, as a prime minister, introduced that we are not going to make the 5-year plans anymore. We will be focusing on the rolling plan, that is annual plan. Every year we will roll the plan. Then the third gap came in the year 1990 to 1992, that is 2-year plan gap, and that was the reason that economic reforms have been done. So LPG policy was introduced, and that's why the third gap have been seen in the economy under the 5-year plan. So these are the 3 gaps in the economic planning of the country in the 5-year plans have been seen. The reason I have told you. Now remember these 3, because in the paper direct question can be asked what was the duration of 5th 5-year plan, what was the duration of 8th 5-year plan, what was the duration of 10th 5-year plan. So if certain kind of duration will be asked, and if you remember the first year, that is 1951, and if you remember the 3 gaps, 66 to 69, 78 to 80, and 90 to 92, you will be easily able to find out in which particular year which 5-year plan was run by the planning commission. And that's why this is very important. You know the 3 gaps, you know the first year in which 5-year planning was started, that is 1951. Okay. Now, the Prime Minister of the country will always remain the chairman of Planning Commission because it was the ex officio post. What does ex officio post means? When the post have been fixed, like whoever person will become this particular post authority, that person will become the chairman of the Planning Commission. This has been done. So the Prime Minister was the ex officio post. Whoever will become the Prime Minister, it will automatically become the chairman of your Planning Commission. This is what we are talking about. So the first chairman was Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru ji, and the last chairman of Planning Commission was Mr. Narendra Modi. Okay, so let's continue. Now next we have a NITI Aayog. Achha, before NITI Aayog we will see these certain points of Planning Commission. Introduced in March 1950, Planning Commission by Government of India. First 5-year plan initiated in 1951. That was the first total 12 5-year plans was introduced. It is non-constitutional, non-statutory body and an advisory body. It only used to formulate the planning. And it do not have the authority to implement that plan or something. And for that purpose, we have introduced the NDC, National Development Council, that used to implement the 5-year plans, as well as it used to provide resources. Resource allocation also used to done by the NDC, National Development Council, for the Planning Commission, because Planning Commission was only an advisory body. It used to formulate, but the authority was not there with the Planning Commission because it was not introduced with a certain act, as well as it was non-constitutional body. That's why the NDC was created, that was used to implement or approve the Planning Commission's 5-year plan and provide the resource allocation to the 5-year plans. Okay. Now we have a NITI Aayog. So NITI Aayog was introduced on 1st of January 2015. And NITI Aayog has replaced the Planning Commission. And it replaced the Planning Commission. It replaced what? It replaced the Planning Commission as well. Now it was done in 2015, and the chairman of the NITI Aayog is also your prime minister. That's the ex-officio post. Whoever will become the prime minister of the country will automatically become the chairman of the NITI Aayog. So this is what we're talking about in context of NITI Aayog. Now, how NITI Aayog started planning, when NITI Aayog started planning, will NITI Aayog make 5-year plans or not? All these things we will be discussing in the next class of your Back to Basics series. That will be tomorrow at the same time at 7:30 a.m. So we will continue the NITI Aayog detail in the next class. Right now, we are going to move forward and start our question practice. Okay. Before starting the question practice, let me know in the comment section is all the concepts we have discussed today is clear to each and every one of yours. Every one of you, if it is clear, then give me a thumbs up in the live chat section so that I can continue the session. And this is this is our fifth class. Hana, this is our what? This is our fifth class. Fifth class means already 4 classes have been done. And this is the fifth class in which unit number 3 we are discussing. So if you do not have any doubt, just give me a thumbs up so that I can start the session. Or I can continue the session, not just start the session. So you can see here, question practice we are doing. First question is asking about which of the following statement is not true. And there are 4 statements in front of you. And you have to answer the incorrect one. So first is saying the Planning Commission has been in charge of planning in India since 1950. This is true. Planning Commission was introduced in March 1950. This is correct. Planning Commission is a statutory entity. So this is not true. We have just discussed that Planning Commission is a non-statutory, non-constitutional advisory body. It means B option is not true. So the right answer will be B statement. Okay, so right answer will be your option number B, because Planning Commission is not a statutory, Planning Commission is non-statutory body. I hope it is clear to all of you. Now, next question is asking, in 2015, Government of India established the NITI Aayog. Do you remember the full form of NITI Aayog? That is National Institution for Transforming India. It is very important. To substitute dash based on the logic that the nature of economy had shifted to market dominated system. So we are saying that 1st January 2015, when NITI Aayog was introduced, it replaced a certain commission because according to the survey, the market nature of economy have been shifted to the market dominated system, and the Planning Commission was not able to manage that particular system or to help out to grow to the economy. So that's why the Planning Commission was done what? Replaced by the NITI Aayog. So right answer will be your Planning Commission. It was replaced in 2015 by the NITI Aayog. Because accordingly, what planning was required to the country, Planning Commission was not able to do that. Now, NITI Aayog gives relevant technical assistance to the dash in designing a strategy and long-term policies and program for the Government of India. So NITI Aayog provides you technical assistance. NITI Aayog design the strategy. NITI Aayog provide you long-term policies and programs to help you out to achieve your goals. But for whom? It is only for state governments, it is only for central government, it is for both central and state, and none of the above. So obviously, if we talk about the NITI Aayog is the planning authority of our country, it will do the planning for center and state as well. Because in the governing council of NITI Aayog, in the governing council of NITI Aayog, all the CMs and lieutenant governors of your states and union territories are the member, and if they are member, they will also have a certain role in the NITI Aayog. So right answer will be C. Okay, now NITI Aayog is Government of India's top policy dash, offering both directional policy and suggestions. So NITI Aayog is a self-sufficient institution which makes plan itself, implement itself, take the feedback itself. Everything will be done by the planning NITI Aayog only. No need of NDC is there. So is it an innovation tank, rescue tank, think tank, or technical tank? So right answer will be think tank. NITI Aayog is a think tank which is doing everything by itself. It do not need NDC. So in 2015, NDC was merged in the NITI Aayog only. Okay, so it's a think tank that provides government the technical assistance, the long-term policies, and your strategies. Now, what was the period of 9 5-year plan? Now, to answer this question, you have to know that the first 5-year plan is started in the year 1951 and ran till 56. And you have to remember the 3 gaps also. So this was the first. The second plan was 1956 to 61. The third gap was 61 to 66. Sorry, third 5-year plan was 61 to 66. Now the 3 years gap have been seen here from 66 to 69. So this was the first gap. Now the fourth 5-year plan was seen from 69 to 74. The fifth 5-year plan was seen from 74 to 78. So fifth 5-year plan was ended only in 4 years, because from 78 to 80 we have seen the gap, and then we have seen the 2 years gap again. Now from 80 to 85 we have got sixth 5-year plan. From 85 to 90 we got seventh 5-year plan. From 90 to 92 we have got again the gap of 2 years. From 92 to 97 we got the 8th 5-year plan, and now you got the answer. From 97 to 2002 we got the 9th 5-year plan. So your right answer will be 97 to 2002. Now you can find it's very easy how to calculate the 5-year plan duration. If you try to mug up the duration of all the 5 years plan, that is not going to be successful. So do make sure first you remember the first 5-year plan duration and these 3 gaps. If you remember these 3 gaps and first 5-year plan duration, you will easily able to find out the duration of any particular 5-year plan. So the right answer will be here, C option. So I hope it is clear to you how to find out the answer for your duration of the 5-year plans. Okay, so this is what we have discussed today for your IEIFS Back to Basics series. Now, if you have any doubt, you can ask your doubt in the comment section. I will check your comment and answer there. And if you are watching recorded session also, you can ask your comment doubt in the comments. I will check your comment and answer there. And for these kind of sessions, you have to join the session for English medium candidate at 7:30 a.m. every day on offices at 24/7. And the same session is available for the bilingual candidates as well in the evening at 7:30 p.m. Okay. So this is how you can enroll in the paid batches of ours, because you know the YT session are just an idea how to cover your syllabus and what to study, what not to study. But the detailed description will be available in the paid batches. How to enroll? Just go to their 24/7 application, download the application, because you will get 1% additional discount there as well. Now you will get spin the wheel offer also, in which you will find a certain particular benefit. It can be the free Mahapack. It can be maximum 85% discount on all the products or 24/7. It can be free AFM book. A lot of things have been found out when you are using that particular spin wheel. So this will be available only on application, not on website. So in the application you will get a pop-up, and in that particular pop-up you have to spin the wheel, and you will find that a certain offer will be given to you. Okay, so do not lose your chance. Be very sure when you are using the application. Now, how to enroll? You can find the Sankalp JAIIB Comprehensive English Medium batches starting from 20th of November. How to enroll? Just click on the buy now option. Use the code DW80, because as you know Diwali is coming, so this is the Diwali offer. 80% discount is going on. If you purchase the same batch from the Redder 24 application, you will find the 81% discount. And if you find any kind of problem at the time of enrollment, you can call in this number and ask your query here. Okay, and this is how you can enroll in the Mahapack as well, because Mahapack have right now double validity. You will get 1 year validity and the 81% discount in the Mahapack. And do remember, the batches are starting from your 20th of November. So be very active in the YouTube session as well and enroll by the day 20th of November, because from 20th of November we are starting our journey for the May 2024 exam. Okay, so we'll be ending the session here. Thank you all for joining the session. Last but not the least, do not forget to subscribe to the Office's YouTube channel and press the bell icon so that all the upcoming sessions notification will be given to you. And as well, share this particular session with your friends and colleagues who are also preparing for the same paper. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining the session and have a great day.